Hey y'all, hey. So listen, today let's talk about the trading from this week that just passed. I haven't dropped the video yet, so I'm about to drop the video now. But all in all, we're gonna start with Monday. We can see where it broke. So where structure broke, right? So on Monday, structure broke right here, right? So if you're just looking at this, hold on, let me just make it bigger for you guys. If you're looking at this and you following a trend, you want to see like what direction it's going in, right? So we can see that it's literally breaking structure to the downside. So as it continue to break structure to the downside, we're trying to see where it can pull back to where a discounted price where we can get in and take advantage of the sale, right? So right here you can see this area where the market broke. Right here with that black candle. Let me see. Right here, this black candle at 6:45. That candle was broken. That low was broken at, what time was it? At 7:45. That low was broken, right? So we see that it's continuing to pull back. Now we know that we don't really look at the market for potential entries until after 8:30. So we were continuing to wait. So if I drop down to the 15-minute and let's get to the 8:30 candle. We were continuing to wait, but we do see that it continued to pull up within that area that we had felt that it could potentially react off of, right? So if you go back to the 15-minute, you can see that it continued to pull back to this area. All right, so now we just checking to see if it's going to hold. If it's going to hold, right? So we're looking for potential areas where we can enter into the market. So we see this is a low here that it can potentially come back and break and we can get in. Or this like right here can be where it can potentially come back for us to get in, but we just need to see what's going to happen. And let's see here. All right, so it gave us that large bearish candle, and if you see, we were still waiting, and then it gave us this candle. So this candle was our entry, right? Because it broke our lows. So we would have got in on a short here. Stop loss would have been roughly about 2.3 pips. Not much at all, depending on like your risk management, how many contracts you are risking and all of that stuff. But if you were to do one contract, that will only be $23. So not bad at all. And then we would have wanted to take it to a 1-to-1. And then let's see, we got our 1-to-1. Right, so that was a winning trade on Monday. After you get your 1-to-1, of course, you always want to move your stop loss to break even, and then you want to push for a 1-to-5 and then a 1-to-2. So you broke that and it tapped a 1-to-2. So that would have been a 1-to-2. So it actually really this trade really played out. So it was really great on Monday. So now let's move over to Tuesday. But all in all, we waited for a breaking structure. We waited for a breaking structure on the downside. We got that breaking structure before we actually looked for our entries, and it actually pulled back to the area that we would have wanted it to. Then we waited for it to break the low. Okay, we waited for it to break the low. So moving over to Tuesday. Let's see if we can get it over to Tuesday. FYI, I be doing these recaps on my iPad. So let's see here. Let's get to the time frame that we like 7. All right, y'all, hold on. That's the 8 o'clock calendar. That's the 8:15 calendar. All right. So if you're looking at this on Tuesday, you guys, you can see what the market is doing. It has broken structure to the upside. Look here, this broke, right? This last high broke. This last high broke, right? So we can see that it was breaking structure to the upside. So now we're trying to see what areas that it can come back and potentially hold at without breaking below. Well, we can see that it can potentially come back to here, right? Come back to this, or it can come back to this here, right? Because this is a potential area as well. But we would need to see it hold. We would need to see it hold at this area, Well, no, not really this, because that's before our grain. So it's really this. It was really this. This is the area that we was looking at. This is really it right here. So cancel. You pull this down. All right. And then if you drop down to the 5-minute chart, we would have waited until 8:30 came and hit. And we just trying to see if it's gonna hold. All right. So this here shows me that it's not gonna hold. This showed that it's not gonna hold. This created a invalid zone, right? An invalid zone. So since the zone became invalid, now we're looking for sales, because now it's done broke to the downside. It broke below our area. That means that that's no longer a good area for us to potentially get in it, right? So it broke down to below to the downside. Then it pulled back up, right? So if you go back to the 15 minutes, so this day was kind of tricky, because if you go back to the 15 minute, you can see that this last pink candle would have been the area we would have wanted to see it pull back to. It was already technically pulling back to that area. Now we was just waiting on a break of the previous low, which would have been here. And we would have waited for us to get a potential entry candle. All right, so it gave us this candle here, right? It broke that low. It broke that low. So this would have been our entry candle. We'd have put our stop loss right below, right above that candle's high, which would have been a 1.2 stop loss. And then we would have pushed it for a 1-to-1. And bam, y'all, look at that candle too. That candle was so beautiful. It dropped all the way down to a 3.5 take profit. Like that was beautiful. But of course, with me, I am not greedy. I have certain certain take profits. It's 3 take profits I have. I have 1-to-1, 1-to-5, 1-to-2. Once my 3 take profits hit, I'm completely out of the trade. So 1-to-2 RR on this trade. And I can say though, some people like to hold even longer, but that would have been a nice drop. So that's how Tuesday played out. Tuesday, again, we had an area where we thought it was going to go up, that we wanted the candles to react off of. It didn't respect that area. It broke below. So since it broke below, that means that now it's changing direction, right? Because now it's breaking to the downside. So we need to see a potential area where it can pull back to come back to, for us to see if we'll be able to get in. And that's exactly what happened. And it pulled below and triggered us in. So that's how Tuesday went. Now let's talk about Wednesday, because Wednesday was a loss. We took an L on Wednesday. But let's talk about why. Let me go ahead and remove all of this. Let's talk about Wednesday, you guys. Wednesday. Come on, Wednesday. Let's see here. And I wanted to put it in replay mode this time, just so you guys can see. And then you guys can drop in the chat if y'all like for me to do the replay mode, or y'all like just for me to just speak on what took place. Or do you guys like the replay mode? Which one you like better? Just me talking about it, or me putting in replay mode for you to be able to see and get a visual. All right. So with this trade, you guys, what we see, just looking at this, we see that it's on an uptrend. It's breaking highs, right? It's breaking higher highs, right? So this broke above. Like, it's literally showing me that it's going to continue to go up, right? So now we're looking for potential areas where it can come back to, and for us to be able to get in. Where is a discounted price where we can get in and continue the ride up, right? So it would have been this area here we would have liked for it to come back to. And then it also would have been this area here that we would have liked for it to come back to. Somewhere in here that it could potentially have came back to. Okay. So if you drop to the 5-minute chart, you can see it pulled, let's see, let's go to the 15-minute. All right, we was waiting for it to pull all the way back. However, it did not pull back. But if you go back to the 15-minute, that's why you want to go back and forth just in case. Because like with this large move here, it may not pull all the way back down to the zone. It may create another zone, which is what I felt that it was doing. It was creating another zone. So I marked this up as well. Here, I marked this zone up. And this is what I sent to you guys. So if you can see, so let me go back to the 15-minute. As you guys can see, this zone was created. This black candle was created. It broke the structure to the high side, right? So it created another higher high, right? It broke. Now we was waiting for it to come back to our area to trigger us in, right? Well, not really trigger us in, but give us a potential area where it can come back to for us to get a potential entry, right? So it did exactly that. It pulled back to the zone. Now we was just waiting on this to be broken, which is this high. Once that high was broken, we would have been getting in. You guys, it followed our rules to the T. Let me show you. So it kept going. Now I did see this, you guys, too. I seen this, like this continued. This was another like zone that it could have broken to for us to get in, but I did not like this candle, which I just felt like it wasn't big enough. But honestly, I have took a trade in the past where the same exact candle, I just decided not to get in on this day. But if I would have got in right here and took it to a 1-to-1, it would have been a win, right? However, I waited on this zone to be broken. And I loved how large that candle was. It was giving buy momentum. So I was like, okay, yes, let's get in. Since that broke, let's get in on a buy. So we got in on a buy. Our stop loss was a 4.3. We was looking to take it to a 1-to-1. Okay. And as you can see, this next candle is going to take us out. Well, maybe not the next. That candle took us out. The third candle down. It took us out. So that would have been a loss for her. That would have been a loss. We would have took that loss. We did take that loss. So if you got in with me on that trade, you took a loss. But like I stated, like it was a winning potential trade within this area. It's just I got in on the wrong candle, right? Which is fine, right? So it's just depending on what risk you want to take. I could have took that risk, but I decided not to take that risk and take the next risk, and we lost on that trade. So that made us 2-1, right? But you still should be up, right? Because your last trades should have put you above what that loss was, okay? So moving on to the last day that we trade, which is Thursday. Let's get to Thursday. Okay. All right, let me delete this. Looking at the last day that we trade, would have been, let me get to 8 o'clock. All right, we at 8 o'clock. All right, so looking at this, you guys. So looking at this, what do you see? You see that the area was breaking. It was breaking below here. So we would have waited for it to pull back to the zone, right? We would have waited for it to pull back to the zone, right? So if you drop down to the 5-minute chart, okay, and you let it play out. Look, you guys, same thing that happened on Tuesday. It broke above our zone on a 5-minute chart. The zone that was waiting on it to pull back to, it broke above. So when it break above, what happens? It's changed direction, right? So now we're not looking for sales anymore. Now we're looking for buys. What area can it pull back to for us to potentially get in on? Is this area right here? Because now I'm not looking for sales anymore. Now I'm looking for buys. All right. So it pulled back to the zone. It's already in that zone. Now we're just waiting on a potential area for us to get in. This was the last high. Right? All right. So now we're just waiting. All right, so with this would have been an area where you could have got in it right here. All right, so you could have did this. Same thing that I stated from the yesterday's. So you could have got in right there. Or you could have got in right here, which is the trade that I took. And it took us to a 1-to-1. It took us right to a 1-to-1. And that was it. It only gave us a 1-to-1 on that trade for Thursday. So all in all, that was the trading week. We was 3-1. Definitely a great week, even though we did take one loss for the week, but you should still be up. So I would say just continue to stick to your strategy. You got this. Don't give up. Just continue to practice, continue to back test, and we'll be ready for tomorrow for a new trading week. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the chat this week coming.